Hello, my name is Matthew Holahan, and I'm an associate professor at Carleton University in the Department of Neuroscience. Unfortunately, I could not be here to attend this techniques symposium at the Society for Neuroscience for the HVS image software, so I thought the next best thing would be to video record how we use our plus maze setup. So that's what I'm going to do, and hopefully it will be clear for everybody in the audience. This is what our plus maze looks like. You can see we have a water maze underneath and a table straddled across the top of the water maze, and our plus maze sits on top. Now this plus maze is totally enclosed. You can see it has the plexiglass walls that enclose all four arms. So it's not the standard elevated plus maze to test anxiety. We use this maze to test for locomotor activity as a somewhat control to see if our animals on different types of drugs show hyperlocomotion or hypolocomotion. So simply, we have that maze set up to test locomotor activity. And so these are the cues for our water maze. And if you look, we have our tracking camera up on the ceiling and the cables running across, all nice and tight. And we have our main light source in the corner. And then here is our laptop with our HVS software. And what I'll do is just run through our main setup detection for the Maze 21. Here we are zoomed in. So our menu 2100 shortcut is located here. Double click on that. And that brings up the main menu with our different options at the top. So you can see Water 2100 and Maze 2100. So we'll be doing Maze 2100. So when we get into that, you can see that if you're working from left to right, as is usual with the HVS software, the first one is to set up your PC for Maze 2100, which we've already got set up, so we'll skip that. We'll go right to Video Image, and you can see this window pops up, and there's our maze. So it's a black maze, and this is a bird's eye view, and it's quite nice and high contrast against the white background. So we'll close that. And then we'll go to Test, Cross, and Calibrate Your Maze up on the top. So again, working from left to right, this is number 3 from the left. So what kind of a maze do we have? Plus T or multi-arm, so we're doing our plus maze. So this is our existing calibration, which is a bit hard to see, so I'll just zoom in a little bit. There it is. And you can see up in the corner, we have the numbers indicating how to set up the calibration. So we'll say OK. So our maze is black. The user is no longer Hannah. That was a student in my lab, so I'll just put my name. The maze is 100 by 100. And now it says click corners of maze floor clockwise from 1. So you have to make sure to look up into this icon up here to see where number 1 is. So that's the right top. So number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you. This is your maze. Yes, it is. So we're going to save that. And then we're going to run trials. So it's quite straightforward for this plus maze. So we won't run a trial, but we'll just leave it as a trial. But typically we'll run series. So we'll run several rats at sequentially. Our options, we have the plus maze, so that's what we're using. So first though, as in most HVS image programs, we do a setup detection. So we're going to click on setup detection, mask maze, no rat yet, and we have a black maze. So we go over here and click mask maze, and there's our black maze. So now we're going to put our mouse, or our rat. Ooh, that's a big rat. It's actually small. It's just a little ping pong ball. So we're going to put that in the middle. So it says put rat near mid maze, click freeze. We'll put them. You can see my arm on the maze. There we go. So our rat is in the maze. Freeze rat. Now click on rat. Detection is good, 76.5, so I'd say that's pretty fair. Test tracking. So we're testing tracking. Cross should track the rat, and yes, it does. And we can actually move that if we like. We just roll it down to the end, and you can see it tracks it quite well. We in fact use Long Evans rats on this maze, which, as you might know, have a black hood or a black head, but they also have white on the back of their body, and this system tracks those rats quite well. So we'll go over and click confirm. Only rat should be colored green. Yes, there's our rat in the corner hanging out. So we say okay, and now we're ready to run the trial. So trial name, trial 1 we'll call it. Username, that's me, I guess caps lock is on. Subject is rat 1. Descriptor is maybe NMDA receptor antagonist. And max seconds, what we usually do is a 10-minute test, so 600 seconds. So we are ready to run our trial, or we could do a practice setup. So practice plus, username me, subject my rat, so we can do a practice, run trial. How much time? So 4 minutes. So click start, put rat in the maze. So I'm going to get our rat out of the maze. You can see me running around on the north end here. Take my rat out. So I'll click start, seeking rat. Rat is jumping around, and now it's moving around. So it's bouncing around. Let's see if we can keep it a bit more active. We'll use our other 21 minutes tracker. So it's running around, it's moving back and forth between the arms. Tracking system is going quite well. Here, oh, now we got 2 rats going, there we go. So you can see that the ping pong ball is being tracked quite nicely. I'm pushing it relatively fast, so it's moving quite well between these 2 arms from the north to the south. So west to east, and it still is tracking nicely. So moving, bouncing around. So you can see the green is really tracking the rat movement. And it's also helpful because we don't have any direct light shining right down. We have the diffuse light shining up in the corner. So what I'm going to do before this gets out of hand, so that's 1 minute. Oh, so end and save. So ended by time, latency 60 seconds is saved. So that's the tracking of this animal. So we'll close that. And then we could run another animal if we'd like. Once we've collected our data with our rat, we can go to Analyze Trial, so that's the 5th icon from the left. So you click on that, so you can see we have lots of different HBS data files on here. So we're going to go find our, should probably clean this off, we're going to go find our practice rat. It is pracplus.hbs, and we can look at the HBS file, so you can actually look at everything, all the different coordinates. There's quite a lot of information here. Probably not the simplest way to analyze these data. So we can do practice plus, we'll do a plot, so we can actually get the plot. We could actually export, print those graphics if we wanted, but sometimes it's not necessary. And so we simply, once we have practice plus, we can say analyze. Actually here, let me go to setup custom first. So this will give us all of our items to define in our custom files, so subject, descriptor, duration, total path, latency to areas, path and areas, total entries, areas used, percent time in areas, any runtime remarks, and the sequence. So we're going to keep that, so okay, we'll save that. Put the plot back up there, and now we say analyze, and here's our data output. So what we have is tracking, subject was my rat, description was testing, maze is 1 by 1, summary, so the total path that our ball moved is 3.77 meters over that 60 seconds. Average speed was 0.06 meters per second. Total entries 12. Visited 4%, path in arms 83.1%, time in arms 93. So it spent a lot of time in the arms. And then you can look at more specific by areas and whatnot. So it's quite a data-rich output. So we'll close that. And then we can also get the CST file out of here. And if we need to, we can look at that more in depth through SPSS or Excel. So we're going to close that. And there's other ways that we can actually analyze these data. We were able to get a time by time analysis so that we can actually look at when they went into the arms over within 5-minute time periods for our 10-minute test that we use for our experiments. So it does provide a lot of good information in terms of how much the rat is moving. And as I said, for the way in which we use this, it's really a setup for locomotor activity. So when we have a rat in here, we give a particular drug and we can see how much it's moving, and it's just much simpler to get the more objective data rather than sitting here writing it down. And obviously you can use the elevated plus maze, the anxiety maze, where the open arms are located versus the closed arms, and you can get measures of anxiety in that way. So it's a nice way to get some additional measures using the same system. And as I said, we have our water maze and our plus maze set up in the same room, so we can just put a table over it. And let me just go back over there. We just put a table over our water maze. So in fact, we have water in the maze right now, it's in use, but when it's not in use, we can put a plus maze on top and then track animal movements there. So I thank you for your time, and I hope the rest of the session is informative. I hope this little presentation was informative. If you have any questions, I'm sure the other members of the panel can answer them. And if you have any questions that you might want to specifically ask me, please send me an email. The organizers have my contact information, and I'm happy to respond to any questions. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your meeting.